Hey, everyone. This is the State of Black Marketing Town Hall. It's time to show up, show out, get found, and get paid. And we're going to have some special guests. We're going to have a panel conversation in a little bit. But first, I'm going to just talk about why I created this town hall and what are some of the problems that I'm seeing. And, some of my frustration is as a consumer, right? I want to support Black business too. And sometimes it's hard to find us. So I want to talk about that, talk about some of the problems I see. And then I want to bring the panel in and talk about what to do about it. So if you're new to me, if we haven't met before, I'm Karanda Adair. I'm the CEO of Carvel Digital, and I am a developer by training, and I'm a marketer by trade. So I came into this work by way of, I had a job just as a project manager, and I had a meeting with our developer. And in that meeting, I had a light bulb moment. And I realized that person was probably making a lot more money than I was. And he had a lot more freedom in how he worked, when he worked, who he worked with. And I thought that sounded really good. So I went back to school. I got a degree in web design and interactive media. And then I realized that just making websites for people was not the be all end all of marketing. It did not suddenly make them riches and bring all these clients to their business. So I started figuring out what is it that the website needs to do, and how does online marketing actually work? And so now I teach people, specifically service-based business owners, how to market online and how to use content to market online. So that's my lens and that's my focus when I talk about marketing and getting found and showing up. So let me just dig into it a little bit, and I want to talk about some of the things that I'm seeing here. So this is the post that I put on Facebook a few days ago. It says, "You're worried about bugging people with your marketing. Meanwhile, I'm annoyed that I can't find you when I need you." And there's a particular reason that I put this post up, and it's because I really need to start a podcast. It's something that's been on my mind for a long time. And I know that I talked to an amazing Black woman who specifically helps women produce and start their podcasts. And I couldn't find her. I don't remember her name. It's been a couple of years since I talked to that person. I didn't know her name. I didn't remember her business name. And she didn't have a website that I remembered. She didn't have an email list that I was on where it could, come up and stay top of mind for when I needed that service. And I got annoyed. I was like, man, I really want to support you, but where are you when I need you? And I put this post up, and I think it got 218 reactions and like 10 shares and a bunch of comments. And I hit a nerve with people, and a lot of people came in and was like, whoo, okay, this was the reframe that I needed, because I know a lot of you are out there and you're like, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to bug people with my marketing. And the reality is, if you have a product or a service that helps people, then you need to get that out there so that you can help people. That's the reality. So this is not a marketing strategy, right? There's a lot of people looking for Black-owned businesses right now. And what I see often is, okay, let's get a list of all the Black-owned businesses or all the POC-owned businesses. And so you'll have this list sitting inside of a Facebook group. And that's not a marketing strategy, y'all, right? It is on you, the business owner, to show up and get the word out and not rely on other people basically bringing clients to you. And I know a lot of people have really good referral networks, but I've also seen people rely on that for years and years until it dries up, and then they panic and they don't know what to do. So we have to get a little more strategic. And meanwhile, right, white people are following me around the internet, right? I'm on Instagram. I'm scrolling, and before I know it, like, I'm buying yoga from a white dude because my hips are tight. And then I'm like, why am I giving money to this white dude who's appropriated this culture to help me stretch, right? Because it's there and it's easy. and it's where I'm already at, and all I have to do is click a button. And that's how it happens, right? And the reality is all of us could be doing this. We can all be out there making it easy, making it the click of a button to work with us. And there's very, very few Black women who are retargeting me. And one of them is my coach, and she's already getting all my coins. So that's all good, right? And the other person who pops up sometimes is a Facebook ads expert, right? So I started to wonder, like, where are we at? Where are all the folks? And there's some challenges. So I want to talk about that too. What are some of the challenges that make it hard for us to show up and to get found? I participated in a local event, a people's market that was all for POC businesses. And in working with all the vendors of that business, we calculated that 80% of those folks just did not have a website at all, like nothing. So that means you're not even in the conversation, right? So you have to at least get your Wix site up, right? If that's where you need to start, right? But at least be in the conversation and get found. If you don't have an email list, that means you can't have a conversation. I mean, somebody can go to your website, but they'll probably never go back. And you need a way to be able to capture that person's information and have a conversation with them. A lot of y'all are not building your audience online, and you're inconsistent. It's like you show up and then you get a bunch of work and then you disappear. And then once the work is done, you show up again. And that inconsistent action is going to yield you inconsistent results. What are some of the other challenges we're dealing with? This is an article. It's called 7 Leadership Lessons for Minorities and Everyone Else. And I know we don't say minorities anymore, but it's from 2015. So just cut me a little slack. But I have been referring people to this article for years because it really details so well some of the challenges that we as Black business owners go through that just aren't true for a lot of other folks in dominant culture. And he talks about this amalgam, right? This Kevin. And Kevin's just sort of your average white guy doing average white guy things. But there is a huge difference between Kevin's level of success based on a certain amount of effort versus, if you are not Kevin, right? And he says society really confers trust and civility and respect. And that results in higher pay, bigger opportunities, better quality of life, right? And so this adage that you have to be 3 to 5 times better just to have a chance at the payoff that Kevin would get really holds true. And I want to talk about what specifically, and I'm going to ask the panel when we get on, what specifically does that look like for us and how does that show up? And I'll tell you how it's shown up for me is, there was a year in my business where I looked back on the clients that I would work with and I realized it was all white women who were very reluctant to pay me. And I'm not talking about prospects. I'm talking about people who had hired me to do a thing and wanted more than they had paid for, but didn't want to pay up to get those extra services. And that became this pattern that when I looked back at it over the year, I was like, what is going on? And I actually had to, my friend was like, oh, just put me on one of your emails and make me your account manager and get your money. And I did that. And within 5 minutes, I had money in my account. Like, why do I have to do that? So, if Black people can have generational trauma, then white people can have generational entitlement. And I have seen and experienced that. And I'm guessing a lot of people who are watching this probably have too. So let's look at the Kevin principle a little more. What does that mean, right? It means if Kevin puts out a certain level of effort, that's going to result in success, right? A success level of effort, that's going to result in prosperity. But if you're not Kevin, that's going to result in the average life, right? If you're a mediocre white guy, then you can still have a nice average life. But if we're mediocre, then we're on the struggle bus. And if we fail, well, Kevin can fail and maybe he'll struggle a little bit. Maybe he can't buy a house, but he can rent a house. But if we fail, don't even think about it, right? It's not an option. And so at every stage, we have to be better and we have to do more. If Kevin needs, 5 testimonials to get a client, then we need 10 or 15 testimonials, right? So don't be stingy with your testimonials. So we can't just aim for success. We have to revolutionize it just to get a fraction of what dominant culture and society is getting for the same level of effort. So we can't just be pounding on the glass ceiling. We got to walk away and we got to climb a different ladder. Okay. So I love this example. So my coach, Rachel Rogers, May 30th, she went on her personal profile and she went live and she basically called out the entire white coaching industry on their racism and their bullshit. Like she was tired and had had enough. That was May 30th. And yesterday, June 30th, her company had its first $1 million month. So when I say show up and show out and be seen, I'm talking about being able to be our whole selves and go out and make bank and be excellent at what we're good at. So this happened last night, and she was campaigning, and it was like a telethon. Like so many of her clients and friends were like on live on Facebook in the groups, like waiting to hear, is this going to happen? And I'll tell you what, I've had white guy mentors that make $1 million a month, every month, 2 million, 3 million, and that's great. But this means something different. This is like trailblazing. So one of the big problems I see is, where's your focus? And if you haven't been marketing your business, or if you're at a certain place in your business, a lot of the focus is, what I see, is on scarcity and not on the results that you want to get. So I want to flip that script, and I want to bring on our panelists and talk about, what do we need to focus on in order to get results? Okay, so let's talk about that. So I'm going to bring in, and I'm going to have you introduce yourselves. So we have RJ and we got Wendy, and we'll bring Aquila in a minute. So, hey y'all.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's been a great day.
Oh, so when
and just working.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you, let's start with you, RJ. Why don't just introduce yourself and talk about like what you do and who you help, so people know who they're listening to.
Alrighty. Well, I am RJ Lewis. I am the chief strategist of Boss Level Biz Bootcamp. I help entrepreneurs who would like to get found, get connected, and get paid. Get found, get connected, and get paid. That's about it. Short and sweet.
Nice. All right, Wendy, what about you?
So I'm a business system strategist, and I teach service-based entrepreneurs how to streamline and automate their business systems so that they can escape burnout, work with the right clients, increase their profits, and save time. You guys can snoop around over at wendynicoleanderson.com.
Oh, awesome. I didn't even toss my website in there.
So, yeah, on that note, if you go to carveldigital.com/town hall, on that page, if you scroll down, I have all of our information. So if y'all want to connect with anyone that you see up here today, you can go and connect. So let me bring in Aquila. Hey, Aquila.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good. So go ahead and introduce yourself and just say like what you do and what you help, who you help.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Aquila Tompkins Robinson, and I help women, or mostly women, I help businesses, but mostly women, get out there, get found, and get visible using SEO, which is search engine optimization, and getting you to #1 in Google, and creating content that you can use on your site, on your social, on your everywhere, to really help hook in people that are already looking for the things that you do, so that they can find you and come to you and pay you, like we talked about.
Nice. All right. So when I was envisioning this event, I started to look around at like who was out here killing it in the online space. And so that's why I invited you all here. I would like to know, what are some of the the challenges and the mistakes that you see people in your market making with regards to your various expertise.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed is that either one, people aren't showing up in the first place, or two, when they are showing up, they're putting too much time and effort into trying to be jazzy instead of just trying to get out there. And I bet that Aquila can attest to that. Is as far as the search engine strategy, nobody is out there searching for, XYZ diva and all of that other stuff. What they're searching for is, I would like to know. So just speak plain English and put it out there.
I would like to add to that too. Another reason why people are not showing up and getting results is they're having problems with content marketing. They don't know what to say. The word marketing flips them out. So what I teach people, what conversations do you need to be having with your clients in order for them to understand and you can help them achieve whatever goal that you want to achieve. So they're stuck because, well, I don't know what to say to get people to buy from me. And I'm simply telling them, educate who you are, what you do, who you serve, how and why. Talk about that and talk about what solutions you offer. The other thing they're doing that's really messing them up is they don't have a client avatar. They want to help everyone. So their content is a hit and miss because it's going out to everyone and it doesn't speak to the specific situation and scenario that that client avatar can relate to where they feel like, oh my God, Wendy understands me. She gets me. This is a person that I don't have to articulate everything to them. She gets me. And so those are the two reasons primarily on the front end that's happening that I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree. I see a lot of primarily women, which is why I like to work with women and why I make sure that everything is really comfortable for us. Because one of the things that I've always seen is that we have a problem owning our expertise. We know some really great and amazing things, and we feel like, oh, I can't put it out there until I have more followers, or I can't put it out there until I'm on more stages. And so we're always, it's almost back to why Black women are one of the highest demographics of having degrees, because we feel like we need to get some additional education. We need to get something in addition to, just in order to be the greatness that we have. And so I run into that a lot with the content part of SEO and also the pitching part. I was just on a LinkedIn Live a couple of weeks ago, just talking mainly just about pitching. How do you get people to pitch and get themselves out there? Because part of getting out there is getting those links to your site, getting on those podcasts, getting guest blog posts, and really showing your expertise throughout online, not just on social, not just repeating the same thing every day on a page, but really getting yourself out there. That's what people need in order to see you, in order to feel more comfortable. You talked about, people not wanting to work with you, like just off the bat, just off a GP. But what makes people really feel more comfortable and helps to build that trust is if they see you other places. And hopefully they're okay seeing you where you are, but you really want people to see you other places, hear you on shows, Google you. Like I got a shirt that says Google me, and I'm very yes,
I like it. I think
because when you Google me, you don't just see my site or my Facebook page or even like my book on Amazon. What you see is that I was on different podcasts. I was on the Revision Path, or you'll see that I was on Melinda Emerson's Twitter chat. Like you'll see all these other things. And when people see that your online profile isn't just a bunch of what you're saying, that starts giving you, the street cred where, oh, they think you're good and that's good. And, oh, I've seen her all these places. And that helps to kind of cause that snowball effect, which helps to raise your authority. So it's really the snowball going up the hill this time.
For sure. Yeah. And I always say, like, when I would go and speak places, whenever I would fly somewhere, it would have more weight because everybody always pays more attention if they fly you in. So it's kind of like the digital equivalent of like flying you in. It's like, if you're here and you're there and you're everywhere, it's like, oh, you must be about something. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I would echo everything that everyone said, but I also want to talk about mindset specifically, because I think that's the underlying cause of a lot of these other these other things. Like, I don't want to show up. I don't want to be seen. You know, I don't know if I can charge that much. I don't know, like all of these things. Like, what have you seen in terms of mindset and how it holds people back?
They have a natural conditioning of unworthiness. They constantly they're so caught up in the aesthetics of the presentation of their offer or their branding or their logo. They're not focused on the things that actually get them paid, meaning messaging clear, do you follow so that people can have a way that do people believe that you can help them. They always seem to want to keep tweaking something that doesn't make sense.
Perfection,
Yes.
the perfectionism of it.
Perfectionism.
I think actually it goes back to what you were saying earlier, even that mentality of I need twice the testimonials, I need twice the degrees, I need 3 times as many this just to feel like I have a voice, let alone that anybody might listen to it, but to feel like I even have one. And I won't even say they, but we tend to deal with imposter syndrome and the idea that I'm just not good enough. Nobody is going to show up if I'm charging this price. I feel like I need to give a discount just in case. And I swear to God, I've got a website. I'm legit.
Yeah. I think we feel like we be legitimized, and like even going back culturally to how we're raised, like the whole statement when you hear like, oh, she thinks she's too good. We're almost afraid. We say we want to be good, but we're really afraid that other people are going to say, oh, she thinks you're too good. And then you're going to have to prove it. So it's like, you know, if I'm going to act like I'm good or be better, then I need to make sure. But I think a lot of what we're taught, or a lot of the things that we hear, even growing up, start affecting us in business, society overall, and not just in the Black community, but definitely in the Black community. But society overall teaches people to be employees. It teaches people to be in line. It teaches people to, you know, conform and not to stand out too much. I think when one of Beyonce's albums is like, you know, be too much or act too much, but don't do too much.
Exactly.
So
be in the box.
Yeah, we get taught to be great, but not to be too great, not to be outside of that. And I think that really hits us. A lot of that reprogramming needs to happen when you get into business, because, you know, going back to marketing yourself, you're afraid to market yourself because you're like, I want to be great, but not too great. Or I want to do this. And that's where the perfectionism comes in. But I need to make sure it's perfect, because I also don't want to get called out on it. We're definitely afraid to take imperfect action. We're sometimes afraid to take action overall. And a lot of it's from people who aren't even in the realm of what we're doing, and not in a bad way. Not everybody's an entrepreneur, you know, so, you know, people will get down by somebody who's doing 9 to 5 and maybe doing well at it. Like, oh girl, why are you doing that? You could come get this job. And what they really want to do is be an entrepreneur, and that person really wants to have a job. And so, you know, I think all of those things, all of those trying to be in line, all of those trying not to be too much, I think that really affects us when it comes to doing business.
There's so much in there. I just want to tease out, like, because there was so much in what you all said. So there's all these layers, right? There's the layer of we've been taught to conform, right? We've been taught to be employees. There's the layer of imposter syndrome, but there's also the fact that society is actually telling us that we're less than because we're Black. And especially if we're Black women. So we got to like cut through all that bullshit to come out of our shell and say, yes, I actually am really good at this, and you should pay me for it, and pay me well.
Yes.
And then I feel like we don't have as much, you know, we talk about imperfect action, which I'm a firm believer in. I'm very much like a ready, fire, aim person, but also we get penalized when we make mistakes in a way that other people don't. And I have felt that extremely in my business, and I'm sure you all have too. So, you know, if you're out here looking at these white guys, they're like, oh, just fail your way to the top. And trust, that does not work for us.
No, no, it is not at all.
We don't believe it'll work for us, or we believe that one misstep or one big thing, which could be a big thing, but like that's the end of the world. Like,
but we've seen examples of that. There's history.
Yeah, it is the end of the world for us because we will be roasted. And you said something I want to touch on really quick about how we don't want to share our successes. Well, y'all know I had a major milestone in my business on yesterday that I don't even want to share here. And I shared it with a couple of people, but I didn't even go into my Facebook group to tell them the specific goal. I shared it in our community because we're all entrepreneurs and y'all would celebrate me. But I messed around and told a family member that I hit a financial milestone and I got reprimanded. She was like, don't share that. Don't tell anyone about that on social media. And so it's like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. You know, I want to be successful. I busted my ass to get that, but we're told to sit down, be quiet, humble yourself. You know, you're bragging, you know, if you tell anyone you have these successes. So then for most people who are trying to ramp up and hit a milestone, it's kind of like, well, I'm going to get slapped on the hand if I share my success stories anyway, so why try at all?
Mhm.
And
It's
so
the other side of code switching. It's literally, like you said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. On one side, you feel like you got to show up and show out for the white people and the this, but on the other side, you feel like you've got to stay humble and stay low and keep your head down to a certain degree. Like for some reason, it's a little bit of both because you feel like you have to be this girl doing this, but at the same time, yeah, I really only made $30,000 for all of last year because otherwise you're uppity or you're doing too much.
Yeah. Or people might ask you for something. Don't forget that part.
Yeah.
Now you got
True, true.
and don't say you made 30 grand in a month.
Right.
Yeah, no, a lot of people can't even conceptualize that, much less $1 million in a month. And
Yeah.
so that brings up the importance of community because Wendy, you said, you know, I messed around and told the wrong person about this milestone. And so it's really important, especially for us, that we have communities where we're going to celebrate, you know, where we're going to be celebrated and pushed to that next level. And like that's like some prehistoric shit, right? Like that's the human brain does not want to we don't want to stand out from the crowd because that's how you get eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's real. And so the way to combat that is to get into communities where the level of success that you want is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Or to set boundaries in your own community. That's kind of what I've been hip into. Like, just set some boundaries, straight up. Don't ask me for money just because I made some. You made some too. Calm down.
Oh, yeah.
I struggle with that.
In our community, I was challenged and I kind of was upset yesterday. I was sharing my wins and over 100 of you guys congratulated me, but y'all had some great questions. Y'all were like, you met this goal, what's next? You met this goal, what do you have in place to hit it again next month? How are you going to celebrate this? Please celebrate. You guys encouraged me to take a moment to realize what I had done versus my non-entrepreneurial friends who wouldn't even imagine making that kind of money in a year. They were like, girl, just, you know, don't tell anybody anything. So community is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I struggle with it. Like, you know, I'm in different communities and I love our community because we're able to share those things. But I also want to be the example. I also want to make impact amongst everyone. Like, I know the only reason why I know this is possible is because I'm in some of these group communities and I've seen it be possible. And someone got me in there. I don't even know how I got into them or how I met, you know, certain people, but someone showed me. And so I feel like I need to be the one to show someone else. So I always have the catch-22 going on in my mind. Like, okay, I stay in this comfortable space and share it because I know that's where this is acceptable. Or I say it, you know, more out loud, and maybe not say everything, but at least say enough so that someone else, like that's how we grow our communities, is that someone else will hear what I'm saying and be like, oh, that's possible. Or, oh, how do I get started with something like that? Like, you know, someone's gotta say enough that other people want to now do that too. Like even with the $1 million a month that Rachel had, now other people are seeing like that's really a possibility.
Yeah.
May have never
Oh,
thought
yeah.
of it a possibility for themselves until she shared something like that. So imagine if she only did that in like her 7-figure people group, you know what I mean?
Right.
And only shared it with folks. So I kind of, like I said, I kind of struggle with what to share, where to share, and wanting to be the example and be the example out there. And at the same time is keeping myself safe, like, and feeling comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's
But I
both.
feel like that's more so the reason why we have to put it out there, like you said, because otherwise, then those people who are in our community don't realize, oh snap, it's possible to hit $1 million in 1 month because we watch somebody do it, or it's possible to get that 10,000, that 15, that 30, and up. Like you can't go up. The rising tide has to float all the boats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think we have to, we have to build ourselves up and shore ourselves up, right, in our communities where people understand what we're trying to do and celebrate that. And we have to go out into the larger community, because one of the things that I see consistently when I have people come talk to me about working together is that their goals are so small. Their goals
Or they
are
don't
so
have any.
small. Or they literally don't have
thing.
any. I've had that too. And one person in particular didn't have any goals. And I'm like, well, I can't help you. And she went and got some goals real quick. And she's doing very well for herself now. But, their goals are so small because they don't have that role model. They don't have that vision that's been given. And so I think we can be the bridge to that, to be like, well, hey, let's look at, and one thing I do with people is I say, well, let's look at the life you actually want to live and figure out how much does that cost. Guess what? That's not a $5,000 a month life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a $30,000 a month. You got, 3 kids and a house, and you want to travel. That's a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month life if you don't want to work yourself to death.
Exactly.
And I think that's what helps me at least start the conversation. And then I have literally bridged by, like, I had a strategy session with someone who had so many mindset issues that I was like, you know what, you need Rachel. Like, go get in the club and like just soak in the possibility. And it's only been 2 months, and now that person is back to hire me. Mm-hmm. So I think it's both.
But back on goals, I've talked to a lot of people and they don't have goals because they don't know how to set them. So a lot of things I talk about in my group, there's a training, it's 13 minutes. I talk about it. I asked the lady today, I was like, what are your financial goals? She didn't have one. And she said to me humbly, she said, I don't know how to create financial goals. And I gave her a simple step. I said, go against all of your expenses and then double it. And she was like, why? I said, because if you only make enough to cover your expenses, you're going to be operating in the red, or you're going to be broke, and you're going to be stressed out, and you're going to be resentful towards your business. But if you double if you need $5,000 per month to pay your expenses, then your goal needs to be 10, so that at least you can pay your bills, have enough to save, have enough to play with. There's no sense of busting your tail to grow this business and you're not enjoying it. And she was like, I never thought of it like that. And I said, start there. And I said, even if the 10K is scary, you need 5K. So now your goal is 7,500. So you have 2,500 that allows you some wiggle room. And when you get comfortable saying that number and seeing that amount of money in your bank account, you can keep inching it up until you can get to where you really want to be, that number that you're afraid to say out loud.
And can we talk about, too, what it actually costs to run a business? Because if I see one more Facebook post, it's like, does anybody know a free tool that does X? And it's like, aren't you selling something?
Everything cannot be free, baby. Everything can't be free.
So why are you trying to build your business and do everything for free? And people, I mean, I think that's another part of like not being able to set realistic goals is, it costs money to run a business. So instead of shrinking away from that and staying on, free MailChimp forever or whatever it is, trying to do all these workarounds that are costing you time, just find out what it costs to run your business the way that you need it. I feel like that's a conversation I have a lot too.
But back to worthiness, they they get overwhelmed that they're not going to be able to consistently make the investment that they need to run the business. So they condition themselves to do it for free because someone that they admire have told them they can do it. And we're not knocking it. You can do it for free, but are you trying to dollars per hours? Or are you trying to, have some type of work-life balance? And a lot of the free tools have limitations on what you can and cannot do.
It's a scarcity mindset.
But I also think we're marketed to that way. I think we hear so many coaches talking about how they started with this and they, started from the bottom and now they're here. They never talk about what were the incremental, like, okay, if you start on a MailChimp, when do you get off of MailChimp? When do you move to the next thing? So I think that's part of it is how we are marketed to that. We hear all of these overnight success stories, but we don't talk about when people start to level up. We also don't talk about how long it takes. So like you said, they might budget for a month or two, but no one says, figure out what tools you're going to do, figure out what you're going to do first, and then figure out what tools it needs to do that. So say if you're going to start a course, you're going to need email, you're going to need some course platform, and you probably should have a website too. Budget for 6 months for that. Don't budget for a month or two and think you're going to be okay. And
right.
Most likely to even make it in 6 months, you're going to need some kind of marketing training. So, budget for a program or budget for books. And then if you get any of those things, actually do the work. I can tell you one thing I see in a lot of programs, and it's really unfortunate, is that we don't do the work. We've got a lot of reasons why we don't. Look, the kids and school and this, but we've got to do the work. And if you don't do the work, you're absolutely never going to get the results. And I think people don't have those kind of real conversations. Like, here's what it's going to take to get this done. Here's how you map it out. Give yourself some time. Do the work. Once you take the time.
Yeah.
Can we go back to started from the bottom for a second? Because the instant that you said that, I was like, yeah, it started from the bottom, but for white people, the bottom is based on their 400 years of generational wealth and like plundering all.
Like, I
the bottom is
myself
like
up with a $10,000 loan from my uncle, or my dad gave me $5 million for my startup. And I mean, I worked so hard, guys. Yes. No.
Or the credit card, the magical credit card they get. I put a course on the credit card.
So I had to max out that card, man. I maxed it out, and my dad didn't pay it off on time. Yeah.
So I mean, I get that. Like, getting the resources can be a challenge, but also, we talked earlier about people spending time like, I got to get more Instagram followers. I got to get my logo, blah, blah, blah. No, you got to go sell some stuff.
Right. You got to figure out what it is your business is doing.
Right. I want to address that really quick because I had this conversation with a client and coming up with us. Wendy, where do I go to find my clients? If I hear that shit one more time, I'm going to scream. I tell people you cannot find clients. What you can do is attract them to you because you're showing up, you have proper SEO, you're retargeting, you are posting content that's relevant, that's enticing, you have an actual damn call to action so that people know what to do when they see your stuff, whether it's hit me up in the DMs, click here to get access to this cheat sheet, click here to book my complimentary call. And then when you click on that shit, make sure it's automated so that it works and that the people get what they need. But people are so busy building their audience. You build your audience by sharing content. If you're not being seen, you're not going to be considered. If my content is good, my messaging is good, the outcomes of having my clients good, if I have good client success stories, then people are going to start sharing my content. Then they are going to find you.
Right. Not only that, but I've noticed that people get so focused on this whole sales funnel or the idea of a sales funnel when they really should be retargeting and working on what are some offers that I can extend to people who have already bought from me in the first place. Like, they're not creating a feedback loop or a flywheel. They're creating just this funnel. Oh, and it drops off. You bought my stuff. You got my email. We good, right? I got your money.
Yeah. would even
and
say start at what are the offers. Some people just don't have really good offers and they don't want to admit it. I tell people all the time, like before you get into a funnel, which is one of the reasons I love SEO because it's organic. And so like before you get into, oh, you got it there, right? Before you get into the sales funnel, try to sell the offer with just a phone call or just a conversation. Because if no one's buying there, it's not the funnel. It's probably not even the traffic. It's the fact that it's whatever it is that you're offering. Like there's so many things. And even when people come to me about the traffic, like the reason how I got into SEO more is because I used to be a web designer and people used to come at me with the infamous, my website is broke, my website's not working statement all the time. Like, oh, I need to fix my website, or I need a new website. I need to get more products. I work a lot with retailers. And when I would go and look at their numbers, it would be like 100 hits in the whole month of January, or even worse, 100 in December when we know people are shopping. And I'm like, it's not your website. Your website's probably perfectly fine. You don't know if it's not working because no one's coming to see it. No one
knows where it is.
Traffic.
Exactly. And if
nobody understood when they got to your website what it was you do. I'm sorry, you didn't explain it.
And so it's like if you don't have enough of those base things, like if you don't have the good offer that you can sell with or without a website, if you don't have traffic coming to the website once you have it, those are some of the base things before you start getting into, I need to run ads. I need to, get my audit. I need to do all of these things. It's like that's what people see on the outside, and they think that is what really is the thing that people have. I tell people all the time in my SEO training is like the reason why you don't see people doing SEO too much is because they don't have to show you. People are naturally coming to them. They're naturally getting traffic. So they're not out here telling you how great their SEO is. And they're not out here flashing.
Their SEO is telling you how great
the SEO is doing the work. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Exactly. The fact that you know them and they're not on live every day, that tells you that their SEO is working. That tells you that the content that they're putting out is working because they don't need to go live and talk to you every day. Mm-hmm. They don't need to flash ads in front of you every single day. They can sit back, relax, create, and get clients.
And something else? Mm-hmm. I just thought back to it, but the idea, like you said, about people having like this coach that is going to shortcut them or get them like, oh, I started from the bottom, but you don't have to. Something else that people aren't doing, they're not taking the time to clarify an offer and have an audience and do all that other stuff, but they're also not recognizing the fact that just because you got the shortcut doesn't mean you don't have to do some work. That's not, going to make an offer for you. You have to still prove your concept. You have to still have something to sell.
Yeah.
So somebody who was looking at joining the club the other day was like, I'm thinking about doing this, but is it DIY? And I was like, so I'm in the higher level program and it's all DIY because no coach is going to come in and build your business for you.
Thank you.
That's actually why I went into coaching, because I was doing projects for people. I was building websites for people, but I was also learning about marketing. And people were like, oh, I hired you for code. I'm not going to listen to you about the marketing. And then it's like, oh, my website doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a surprise, right? So I actually went into coaching for that reason, because I wanted people to show up with the expectation that they got to do their own work. And it worked. Like my results and my relationships with my clients were 180 degrees from what they were before. And every Wednesday, like clockwork, I have my training call with my clients, and they show up and they're like, we always start with wins. Like, what are the wins today? And they'll be like, I did what you told me and it worked.
Exactly. Exactly.
It worked over and over again,
Yeah. Sometimes, and it's funny, like people, a lot of times people don't get, and especially in entrepreneurship, they don't get what coach is. Like coach is not a service business. Like we're not providing the service. We are coaching along. And I literally had to take it back like to sports. Like the coach on the basketball team is teaching you drills, making sure you're in shape, giving you the right plays. But when it comes time for the game, The players are the ones who are out there running that ball up and down the court. And the player has to be, okay, I know all these plays, I know all these drills, which one do I use here and there? And then the coach can afterwards say, good game, you could have done better here, you could improve there. But literally the player's the one that's out there. And so I'm the queen of analogy. So I'm always giving my people.
I love that.
That's a good one, though. That's the first time I've ever thought about it that way.
Yeah,
okay,
I've never done the sports analogy. That's I can't believe that.
That's not a good
I'm totally feeling that. I'm using it from now on.
My friends are probably like, what do you know about basketball? I know that much.
Exactly.
You know what
All right.
does. But you always, I mean, you have to, and I guess that's part of what we should be doing in our marketing is like you have to educate people on here's what your expectations are, here's what you truly need, and this is what's going to get you there. A lot of people just want to get to the what I want at the end, and we've got to move it in to tell them all these other things. Like I always say, hook them with what they want and then give them all the good stuff that they really need.
Give them what they need, exactly. All right, so I want to get practical. I want to talk about what are the qualities or the things that people do that your clients do who have the most success with you?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
My clients, most often, my clients are service-based businesses, entrepreneurs mainly. I've done some product-based, but mostly service-based, but they're willing and they want to know how to succeed. Even when I was still doing web development and before I transitioned into coaching, I actually put them through what I called website bootcamp. And we spent the first part of bootcamp going over their target audience and their messaging strategy, and then moved into actually, let's make it pretty and let's put it into a wrapper and a container, and then moved into let's put this into an ecosystem so you're not spending all your time stressed out and confuzzled. And so the biggest quality is that people who are, I guess what you would say, coachable, people who are willing to get in there and they really want to succeed, those are the people that I've had the most like crazy success with. And it was crazy for me because I was like, oh, I'm not actually even building their website. I'm training them on how to DIY, how to do this, and when to call a professional. You know, there's not something that they're going to know for everything, but they were like, RJ, you hung the moon and the stars. Thank you. Because they were willing to learn. They were willing to go over the ideas of SEO and willing to sprinkle that into content. And they weren't stuck on, I just want this pretty thing and could you just do it, you know?
Yeah, I would have to wrap that up into compliance is the word that I use, where people come in and they're not, they're not like attitude of servitude, but they trust my expertise and my experience. And so when I tell them to do something, they are likely to do it. And if they want to know why, then I'm happy to tell them, but it's a partnership. And I actually had a client tell me the other day, she's like, I kind of now have a physical reaction when I don't take your advice. Like, ooh, I'm going to regret that. I was like,
Mine is a little bit different. The clients that I love to work with, I like to call them, they've had a fuck it moment. Meaning that they're at a place where they see that they could be doing greater. They are like fed up with where they are. They know they have what it takes to reach their goals and their results, but everything they've tried up until before me, it's just kind of flopped. So they're more like, I'm over myself. I'm willing to do what I need to do to make this work. I don't have unrealistic expectations. I know I have a little garbage that I have to get through, and I know this is going to take some time. But also, I think why they're like that too is I always teach my clients, set the expectations for the professional relationship. So if they're in my email funnel, if they're looking to talk to me, I have an expectation for each phase of how they interact with me so they'll know how to respond to me. And so by the time we really interact, I preconditioned them to think, if you want these results, these things have to happen for you to get them so that I don't attract pie in the sky type of people.
That is so important. And I say all the time, you teach people in your marketing how to succeed with you.
Yeah. I would say
Yeah.
very specific to me teaching people SEO and what makes people the most successful with that. On both ends. Like at the very beginning, I would say the thing that makes people the most successful and where I see the people who go the furthest is that they are able to not just listen to me, but listen to their audience. A lot of SEO is writing the content that people are looking for, answering the questions that people are asking. And although you have the expertise, making that expertise such that it makes sense to the people who are searching for it. So if I can get people to stop using their jargon and stop thinking, people don't want that. Like I just said, the whole thing about the hooking and giving them what they need. If I can get people to give what people want, like this is what somebody's searching for, answer that question and they'll come to your site and then you can show them all the other things. So if I can get people on the beginning end to just listen to their audience, listen to the people that they are trying to sell to. And then on the other end, I talked about in the very beginning, is getting yourself out there and pitching. The secret sauce to SEO is getting those backlinks to your site. Google loves to see your popularity. The only way your site's going to get popular, it's not about the number of followers or fans or all that other easy stuff we do on social. You have to literally get links from other sites and get connections. You have to show that somebody thinks your stuff is dope too. It's just the hardest thing for other people to think, like, I know I'm dope. Now I got to get you to think I'm dope and you to think I'm dope and you to think I'm dope. And so people, have a really hard time with that. So when I get people that are willing to get out there and pitch themselves, we send out 10, 20 pitches a month. Send them. Don't worry about the no's. Just be happy with the yeses. Show that you're dope to Google out there. If I can get people to pitch on the other end of it all, listen to your audience here, pitch over here, then they're going to get everything on the in between and have the most success with what we do.
Awesome. All right. So I want to continue on that practical note. And for the people watching this, like the people I'm thinking of are really folks who like they're coming off of sort of their DIY efforts, right? That's really kind of the point. Like Wendy said, like either you've had or you're about to have a fuck it moment where you realize you cannot do everything yourself.
Right.
Oh, yes,
Lord. And so like maybe that I want to like describe this so people kind of have a vision. It's like you're on your Wix or your Squarespace and you've heard of funnels, but you don't know the first thing about how to get started with that. Or you're on your MailChimp and you're like, I know I could be doing more. Or maybe you don't even have an email list, but you're like, I know I need to be talking to people in a different way. And that like, if all you have is fans and followers, well, guess what? You don't own those relationships, right?
Nope.
Facebook, Instagram can cut you off at any time. So for those people who are at that cusp where they're like, okay, I have to make this leap, what is like the top 1 or 2 things you would tell those people to do?
I would say
in your respective markets.
I would say get out of the $10 task, the $10 an hour task.
A
lot of people when they're looking to bring in someone or bring in help, they go for the big things. Like they go for like, oh, I need a funnel builder or, oh, I need a graphic designer. And it's like, that's not really what you need. What you need is to be able to be in your zone of genius and deliver and really create that messaging and stuff that you need. And then the smaller things, like if you're still tweaking your own website, if you're still sending out, like one thing for you to write the emails, it's another thing for you to actually have to send every single email, or put every single thing, like every ad or every post that you put on Instagram. Like if you're still doing those kind of things, that means that you're not spending time with where your zone of genius is and where your expertise is. So as opposed to trying to get the person that is like kind of, let's say above you, but like in a different expertise, I say get people that can help you get more into what you should be doing and get more into the business side of it. Like I work with a lot of folks who are like in finance or they're life coaches or stuff like that. They are not natural marketers, and that's perfectly fine, but they know they learned some marketing things and they've learned to start doing them. Get a VA who can help do that while you go back to doing what you need to do. While you go back to maybe creating valuable content, or someone said starting your podcast, like go back to those things, because getting more of your expertise out there is what's going to bring in more people. So that's what I say.
So good. So good. I would piggyback on that and say, let me not lose my thought. All right. I'm going to let somebody else go because I lost my thought.
I guess my piggyback to that would be learn what to outsource and what to automate. That's one of the first things we go through is, yes, you can have a VA do this, but if it's something asinine that even your VA should not be tackling, get some automation to do that for you. Get that right. Fix your flow.
Yes. Oh, so that reminded me. Learn enough to know what you don't know.
Yep.
Which kind of piggybacks on what RJ said, because the people who come to me, like, every year I get at least one rescue, right? Where they've just done, and it's not because they haven't tried, but like they're listening to the wrong people. For me, it's always developers, right? Because I have students in my course who just are literally poster children for their developer built this black box complex website and made it really hard to use and then said, okay, don't touch anything. Or I asked them down. Or I asked them like, okay, where's your domain hosted? And they're like, oh, I don't know, my developer or my little brother, whoever said that. I was like, no, you just gave away your business. And so you need to learn, enough to know what you don't know. So, if you need a website, it might be good for you to struggle a little bit and go get on YouTube or take a course in DIY so that you understand what's out there, what's possible, how hard it is, how bad you are at it. Right? So that when so that when the invoice comes, you're like, yep, I'm gonna pay that because I know that's not a good use of my time.
Right. And what's involved. I used to make clients stay on the phone with me and I would do many projects with them and it would freak them out. And they would be like, I had no idea that all these things have to happen for this end results, because their attitude is when they come book a time to talk to me, when they work with me, just like today, I talked to a lady, she did a 90-minute call. She realized she wasn't going to do the work. So I upsold her to another level of support. I gave her a link. She paid. And I'm talking to her. She didn't see me touch anything. She was like, I've already gotten an email with all this stuff from you. Like, how did that happen? I was like, I automated everything. And people will come to me and they'll like, well, Woody, I just want you to do such and such. And because my stuff looks seamless or flawless, they just assume it took me 10 seconds to do. So I learned the trick. I was like, okay, you got a couple of minutes? Let me share my And so I'll go through all of these things. I did it to a lady yesterday. She was freaking out. She was like, this is tedious. This is a lot. She was like, you have to do this every time I want something from you in this regard. I said, absolutely. And she was like, I'm so happy I paid you to do this because I don't ever want to touch anything like this. She was like, I cannot believe that you do this. And I told her, I said, yes. I said, so when people ask me what my price is for these types of projects, I don't flinch because I'm like, you want to do it yourself?
Yep.
For real.
And
for real.
I love how you said something about the one piece. Like people will come all the time, like, I just want to do keywords. You can write me some blog post that's going to get found. Or can I just be number one? And they don't even know what they want to be number one for. I think that's another really important thing. Just send
those people the number one finger, like the little sponge ones. Be like, there you go. You're number one.
You could be number one for a lot of things. Which one do you want? But I think that's another thing I would tell people is like, stop trying to do just one thing or one piece or one little minor, especially if you don't know the whole process. Instead of asking, can you just ask, what does it take to get? Just come with what your goal is. And let me tell you what it takes to get there. And then we can work from there. You just coming and saying you want keywords. I can give you a keyword list all day and charge you lots of money for it. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people give you that, charge you lots of money for it and walk away. And then you're stuck holding the bag like, okay, I got this list and it's not doing anything for me. So instead of saying, I just need this one, say, what does it take to get to this? So you can understand those steps and then plan your time and money accordingly.
Yes.
Or
we're back to what is the result?
What is the result? I have a client that flipped over and they bought an SEO package from an SEO professional and got a site full of gobbledygook. And so they come to me wanting me to redesign and do all the stuff. And they're like, oh, well, he was an SEO expert. And so we already have all these blog posts ready to go. And we're ranking #1 for this and #1 for 5 other things. I looked at the site and went, we can't use any of this. This is all completely garbage. And they were like, why? Go read your blog. Just read it.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, just read it. And they went, oh, I don't understand what this says. No, you don't understand what this says because you bought a bill of goods. Literally, you need to know enough to be dangerous. You need to at least know enough to not have to buy another domain every time you switch technicians.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
You should not buy a new domain every time you switch technicians.
Mm-hmm.
You know enough for that too.
Yeah. And if that was the hill that I wanted to die on, I mean, like I spent so much of my time in the early years just trying to save people from those things. So the information is out there, like, and you can come to all of us, you can go to the page and scroll down, you can link to any of us. And I think, Wendy, to your point, I took that one step further and I just create content for those things. That's like, oh, you want to do that? Here, let me show you how that works, but go watch this video. I'm not even going to get on the phone with you or Zoom and show you in person. I'm going to be like, go watch this video. And they're going to be like, oh, it takes all that to connect Zapier to this thing? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck and Godspeed if you
and that too. A lot of people think automation is tech tools, and I explained to them, you can automate anything. It could be MailChimp, it could be whatever. It's not the tech tool that is the magic. The magic is the strategy, aka logic. And I always tell my clients what needs to be in place in order for you or the client or your customer to get a result or have a certain experience. And if you haven't thought that all the way through, then it doesn't matter what tech tools we use, because I need to loop this and do all of these things. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, so now I'm on the sports analogy. So what came to my mind is like, what if you could automate free throws, but you automated the miss? Right.
Exactly.
You can automate anything. Let's automate just throwing the ball at the basket. It never goes in, but it's automated. Cool.
One little angle off that you can.
Yeah.
But I like what you said about having you have content to just send people. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of, like, I always get asked, like, what are the first things that should be on your site? That's the kind of content that should be on your site or on your YouTube or just available publicly, so that when people do have questions, you have something for them. And that is one of the most powerful things, because they know that you know what you're talking about, because you've already pre-thought, you've already been thinking for them in advance. And they're like, oh, you already knew this? Yes, I see this all the time. I'm a pro at this, like, for real.
I think, Aquila, you and I could probably have a contest for, like, you have like a link off.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, like, so for those listening, like, if you're thinking, well, what do I start with? Start with the things, the basic things, the basic questions, or the things you would feel like you need to educate somebody when they come to you, the things you get tired of saying over and over and over again. Write them in a blog post. So just send it over and over and over again.
At the very
and also the mistakes that people are making. The mistakes that people are making. I have a whole category in my blog. It's just like mistakes to avoid. Like, somebody didn't learn from this, but you could. You don't have to make them all yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. People get so overwrought about content. I don't know what to write. I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Go in your inbox right now. Look at your replies. Yeah,
exactly. That's who doesn't know what to write, is anybody but you. If you are an expert, you got it. You know exactly what you need.
Yeah. What are some strategies that you would tell people? Because, part of why they're not doing this, I think, is because there's not in their skill set, right? What if you're not good at writing, or you're not good on video, or you're like, what are some strategies that you would give people to kind of overcome these hurdles where things are not in their skill set?
Is suck it up a strategy?
Suck it up.
It is. It's actually what I preach often.
And lead with the thing that you're most comfortable with first. So people say to me all the time, I'm not a great writer like you. I don't like to go live. Okay, pick one thing that you're great at and start there. But the main thing I tell people that nips this in the bud the most, I'm like, do you want to make money or not? Are you going to allow? I mean, because you really need to do all of it to a certain degree. You know, when I started 7 years ago, I was scared to go live, be on camera. I was trying to record a 3-minute intro video for my website. I had a full collision, meltdown, like, I can't do it. And at the time, my kid's father, he was like, we're just at home alone. It's just a video. But it was major. But over time, I had to myself. But if you would have asked me to come live and do this 7 years ago, I would have told you hell no. But at the same time, it's like everyone is it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Everyone's so worried about being judged, they kind of nitpick over what they should and shouldn't be doing. So for me, I have a degree in writing, but my grammar sucks. Sorry. So I went and purchased Grammarly.com. So when I have to write, or I'm just being honest, you know, let's just be honest with what we're doing. You know, I paid what is it? It's on my board. I don't know, it's like $140 a year. I have the paid version. You know, if I'm writing a blog post or if I'm sending out an email or if it's something professional, because on social media, I'll just post it however, I don't give a damn. But if it's something that is going to be critiqued, then I run it through Grammarly. Grammarly fixes all of my grammar problems, and then I put it out there, and it's perfect. No one knows that. Well, y'all know now. But, you know.
I love that, though, because what you're doing is you're modeling like, okay, yeah, I have this hurdle, but I figured it out. Like there's a solution. I think in business, you have to be a solution seeker. And I think people get focused on what their blockers are and their problems are. And you have to just be like, well, everything is a solved problem, right?
Right.
Except for there's no COVID vaccine yet, right? But that will be solved. But everything in your business is a solved problem. So you need to ask yourself, who has solved this and how can I find out how they did it?
Right. Another thing that I tell people, especially the ones who go, I'm too busy or I can't write, you don't necessarily have to be Shakespeare. Like, seriously, put out whatever the thought is. That's why God invented editors. Get somebody to come in and edit your stuff. Get your Grammarly. Do what you got to do. Either you want to make money or you don't. Like, these are your options.
I have clients who are like, oh, I love video. I can talk forever. Don't sit me down in front of, you know, a blank monitor. I'm like, great. Talk all you want. Send that off to rev.com. Get your transcript. Have your VA clean it up. Good to go.
And boom, you have written.
And I do a lot of video. Like I don't say suck it up. I do tell them in a nice way, suck it up a little bit. But really letting people know that does not have to be perfect. Letting people know that you might not like none of this. You may not want to get on camera, you may not want to write, but you do want to make money, as you said. So, you know, you may not like any of this and it's perfectly fine. Just do a little bit of it. Do a little bit of it until you can do like a rev.com or you can get your Grammarly or you can bring in a person, but just get started with it. And a lot of people, if you just get them started with it, they'll start to get more comfortable and they'll find which one is kind of their thing, which one's kind of their stick. And then we can work with how to make that work and how to make that better. But really it's just starting somewhere, giving them that. I never say get over it. I always say get through it. So process through it, feel through it, go through the motions, and then sit down and do what you got to do.
Anyway. Yeah. So, as Rachel would say, you can have reasons or you can have results.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and I think something we haven't really hit on specifically is you have to have a powerful reason why you're doing what you're doing, or you're going to quit.
Right.
So, and I have learned to spot that a mile away. And, you know, one of the things I do in my calls with people is we talk about their business. Yes. But I also want to know, like, why are you doing this? What is your goal? And, you know, I get people who come in, they're real comfortable. It's usually white women, right? They're real comfortable. Their husband makes a lot of money, or they've got their savings, or they're, you know, this is their side hustle. And I'm like, okay, what's your goal? I want to make 20K. Great. Why? Well, because it'd be nice. I'm like, okay, no, you're not going to do that. So you have to have a powerful reason, or you're just not going to stay the course. So
something to make you push. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And don't try to do too much. That's the one thing I see is you feel like you've got to be all the places and do all the things, and they're not having a plan or a strategy. It's like, nope. First thing we're gonna do is sit down and talk about who your audience even is, what your offer even is. Start there. Now, where are these people showing up? Because you don't have to go everywhere if they're not even on Twitter. Come on.
Right? Yes. And I always say, whenever somebody comes to me and they're like, I think I want to make a course, I'm like, great. If you can't sell it with a Google Doc with some bullet points and a PayPal account, then you don't get to make your course.
Yep.
That's good. That's
Yep.
I back to Aquila was said earlier, people always hollering at me about Facebook ads. If your stuff is not selling organically, you should be running ads to it because you're getting ready to waste money. Like, do you even know the people want this thing? Like, can we run a beta real quick?
Throw good money after bad? No, thank you.
Yeah. But I really think it's because of how people talk about ads. People always, and people even if they don't mean to, like, not even just the marketing, but like you're in groups and people are celebrating, I got a sale from an ad, but they never talk about how many ads ran without the sale. They never talk about they're celebrating it because it was not easy. They're celebrating because there's probably been a lot of time and money wasted on it. And
I
now
spent $3,000 on ads and I got my $500 sale.
Exactly. $500 sale.
They're celebrating the one thing. I tell people all the time, like, ads are supposed to be like the fuel on top of the flame. Like, if you got something good, amplify it. That's what an ad does. But you got to start the fire. You got to get the flame. You got to start moving. If your business, if your products, if you're not doing that, then last thing you need is an ad. Because all you're going to do is be putting lighter fluid on top of nothing.
Yeah. Prove your concept first. Prove your concept. Pre-sell it. And that's another thing, especially with a course. Pre-sell it.
Like, you have to build on what works, which means you have to do the work of figuring out what works. And there's just people try to come in and they try to squeeze around it all kinds of ways, and there's no way around it.
I will say, can we talk about pre-sale? Like, if you're going to pre-sell, make sure you do the product and offer good service, and make sure you kind of move through the whole thing of delivering. That's another thing I think, and especially in our community, we see a lot of the upfront sales. We don't see people selling a lot through testimonials, through results, through any of that. Like, I coach with Stu McLaren, and he's always talking about what he calls the circle of awesomeness, and just having your clients out there. Your successful clients will help you sell more than you could probably ever sell yourself. And not even the fact that they have to be the ones to always talk about you, but just people seeing, like, I know this person worked with that person, or you having testimonial videos, and they can see when they look at, I'm the person that goes to someone's sales page, see the testimonial, and then I go to that person's page. I want to see how successful that person really has been, because that's what's really going to sell me. I know you can do it for you, but can you really do it for other people and get other people to do that? And I don't see a lot of that in our community. I don't see a lot of that really focusing on not just the selling up front, but making sure that you deliver and get someone results, even if it's small, even if it's just a handful of people, deliver, get those people results, and then use that to propel your next launch and your big launch and stuff like that. I think that's another thing that holds us down in business, holds us down with raising our prices, because we're not even confident we can get people success because we aren't.
Yes. So on that note, I want to bring up something that's a little bit taboo, a little bit controversial, maybe.
Sounds scary.
And that's about pricing, right? Because there's this thing that happens where when other Black people come to us, they're expecting like the discount. Have y'all experienced that?
You know what?
Is that a Portland thing?
No. You know what? I think that some of that people do, but have you guys ever had the situation where it's more so in your head, like you're expecting them to expect the discount, so you're kind of
you give it
like,
to them before
they ask for it, it's like, for you, I'm gonna go down 40%, and they're like, oh, thank you.
Yes,
and, but I found that when I personally didn't do that, 9 times out of 10, I didn't get any pushback. If I got any pushback, they weren't looking for a discount. They were just like, oh, you just too expensive. Like, that wasn't where that was coming from.
I agree. That's the hardest thing.
They just want to know what they're paying for. Like, what does that amount cover too?
But I think
Right.
that's a way of asking you for the discount. When people start asking you, like, well, what's on your list? And they kind of ask you to prove out what you are going to do for this amount of money, that means they don't believe in your results either. Or they're trying to question your results to make you
Upfront.
backtrack your price. And I think
They don't believe in you, or sometimes they don't believe in themselves, especially if it's coaching.
Mhm.
There's that element of like, you know, you could have all the receipts in the world and they're like, well, have you worked with this kind of person? Have you worked with that kind of person? And I'm like, this is about you, babe. Like,
it's not me.
I
It's
know my
me.
shit is good. Like, do you believe in yourself to come in? Because I have invested a lot of money in my business growth and my success, right?
Mhm.
And every single time it's me betting on me, and I will take that bet every time.
Yep.
And, you know, so I know I'm going to get a return. It might not look the way that I think it's going to look, but there's nothing I've ever done in business that I haven't learned from. Either you win or you learn. So if you have that attitude and you're willing to bet on yourself, you know, I think that's where some of those questions come from.
Definitely.
All right. So, somebody said, I wanted to point out too that was a good point. It's not just people asking us for the discount. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. So don't do that. Like charge what you need to charge, because to this point of, you know, pre-selling, delivering, getting those testimonials, right? If you're pre-selling, but you're not charging what you need to charge, then you're going to be stressing. You're going to be stressing about your finances, and you are not going to show up and deliver the way that you need to deliver.
That you need to.
And you're not going to get that result. You're not going to get that testimonial. And then it's a vicious cycle. So even, you know, new people have the hardest time with this because they haven't proven, but you have to charge what you need to charge to make that energy exchange and to make that financially work for you so that you can show up and deliver. And it took me so long to learn this.
Can we talk about that a little bit more in depth? Because that came up today in a call too. So they don't know what to charge. So my reasoning, what I explained to the lady today, I said, okay, let's say you lowball yourself. Let's say you charge a fee that you think the client is going to be acceptable. I said, you're coming from the wrong place. You need to be mindful of what is the time investment required of you to manage the deliverables so the client get what they have. And if you're lowballing and if you're not charging what you need to charge, you cannot give that client your undivided attention because you're out here in these internet streets looking for the next 10 clients so that you can generate the funds that are needed to hit the revenue goal. That's phase one. Phase two, why I see a lot of people overcharging and not delivering value, they're just placing an arbitrary number on it. And I'm like, where the hell did you get that number from? And I've talked to people, they have $5,000 packages. And I was like, what the hell is $5,000? What is this money? So I talked to a lady today, and I won't go into detail because I don't want to tell her business, but she wanted to provide a specific service. But she has the skill set to do it, but she just wants to provide the service because she knows there's money in it, but she doesn't necessarily have the true expertise to deliver it. So I had to sit down and I had to ask her, you know, you can't just sell that to people. You yourself need to know, how do you even audit a situation to tell a client what they need help with? When you find those gaps, then what is your process to help the client put the things in place that's going to help them to reach the goal? What is your process to help the client get rid of the things that are causing them the distress? She had no answers for me. And I said, so right now you have an answer, so you haven't anything. Let's get your processes down, and then we can talk about price.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So I want to start to wrap us up. And one of the key takeaways that I want people, if you were going to build a business, and this is a distinction that I make a lot, when I say build a business, I mean a collection of systems that produces revenue, right? If you just set out your shingle and you're out here freelancing, like that's great. But what you just did is you gave yourself a job, right? And the minute you step away from that, like your money is going to step away from your bank account as well. So if you have a business, it means you can step away from that and revenue continues to be produced. Okay. So that's, if that is what you are going to build, then you need a squad, right? And not just a squad, but you need the right squad. Right?
Much better squad.
I love it. I love it.
I try. It's not my forte, but I try. So in addition to bringing you like the amazing host that we've put together, if you go to the website, you go to carveldigital.com/townhall and you scroll down the page, I have put all of our information, and we'll reiterate who we all are and how to find us. But I have put all that information as well as some extra things. So if you want to get your SEO game right, you can get with Aquila. If you need help, if you need like admin help, you can connect with Alice at the Digital Jane. She is like, even as we speak, getting my Google Drive game together. And if you've been in my Instagram stories, Takira is like getting my story game together. Like my clients were like, "You've been on Instagram a lot." I was like, "Yes, I have."
That's awesome.
So I cannot tell you like the pleasure of having a team that I trust, where I can say, hand this, like pass the baton and know that like it will get carried. So, Morgan is another resource if you need automation implementation. Morgan helped put this event together. She helped with the landing page, helped with some of the automations. So all of those resources are there for you because you can't be out here without a squad. So I just want to end on that note, and I want to have us go back through and just say again, like, what your thing is, really, who is your like ideal person, like, and you could talk a little bit about your tech stack if that is relevant, but like, tell us who is your like client bay, so that if they're out here watching this, they can know like, "Ooh, I need to reach out to Aquila, or I need to get with Wendy, or I need to call Karonda, or I need to get with RJ." Let's start with you, Aquila. We'll go another way.
So my client bay is definitely a female entrepreneur who has an expertise in something and wants to get found for it. So I focus on SEO and content creation, but very specifically content that's going to lead people to what you do, and it's going to bring them into your business and get them to want to work with you. So I help with all of that. If you've got something in your head right now that you're like, "I know this, I've got this, I need to get found for this," then you are definitely in the client bay realm. And my book, you saw the book, my SEO workbook, which is all about helping people to learn and do SEO. She also has to be willing to do. So do is really important for me. Implementation is key. And I have a workshop going on right now where we're going through that. I'm showing people things. I've got worksheets. We're doing the implementation. So if you do want to head on over to girlgetvisible.com/workshop, you can start hanging out with me immediately.
Awesome. All right, Wendy.
Yeah, so one of my client avatars I love is she started her business, but she don't have a standard automated process for her clients to hire her. She doesn't have an onboarding or follow-up process in place, and hell, she gets stuck at asking for the sale. And when the client says yes, she does not have a fulfillment game plan in place to service them. So this client is ready for people to stop haggling her. She wants to be taken seriously. She's also undercharging, and she's overworked, and she's trying to figure out, what tools and resources she needs to have in place so that she can grow her business. So typically people come to me when they want to escape burnout, work with the right clients, increase their profits, and save time. I have a Facebook group that I spend a lot of time in. We're called Rebel Queen. You can get that information over at wendynicoleanderson.com.
Awesome. All right, RJ.
All right, so my brand bestie is definitely going to be a service-based entrepreneur who is already killing it. And is looking to up-level their business and move things up a notch into automation, into outsourcing, into figuring it all out. Their website already doesn't work, and they know that, and so they are looking to look at target audience research, start really putting together their messaging strategy, and then move into perfecting their systems and putting things together in a way that works for them. As far as tech stack goes, I am not tech agnostic. I prefer to help people figure out what their tech stack is. I already got mine. I'm good. I can work with literally anything. What I want people to do is to be comfortable enough to get dangerous. That way, when they hire that tech person, when they hire that VA, they already have a very good idea of what opinion they would like to have. They definitely need to come ready to work and come ready to learn and come ready to slay, because we're going to set goals, we're going to work on messaging, we're going to work on systems, and then we're going to work on your content strategy so that you can bring those people back into the fold after you've already delivered your premium offer. There we go. Oh, and if they want to do that, justrjlewis.com.
Awesome. All right. And I'm Karonda Adair. I'm the CEO of Carvel Digital. My business bay is a mission-driven, service-based business owner, usually a woman. And it depends where if you're in the more beginning stages, I teach people how to use content to sell their service. So I have a 12-week boot camp that you can come through where, if all this stuff we talked about, clarity about your offer, your audience, your messaging, if all that is a little bit baffling to you, then we will come through and we will straighten out and we will get your edges right, so that you have clarity about who you're talking to and what to say to them, and you actually make some sales. And on the back end of that, if you're someone who, like RJ said, is at the level where you have some success, you've hit the 20, 30, 50K a month, but your systems are whack and you don't have your marketing system together, you don't have your fulfillment system together, you or your team are spending too much time doing manual stuff and your data is all over the place, then, if you come in with a budget, then I can help you strategize and make a plan to kind of wrangle all those things together so that you have a system that works cohesively and you have the automation that you need. I want to thank you all for spending all this time with me. It's been so fun. I love it.
Thank you for having us.
This is awesome.
Cool. All right, y'all. So find us carveldigital.com/townhall if you want to link up with any of the awesome folks that you've heard from today. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the internet.
Bye, guys.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.